Have you ever thought about what could happen if an emergency strikes at a construction site? Today, we delve into the importance of having an effective emergency response plan. Imagine a typical day at a construction site. Workers are busy, machines are humming, and structures rise from the ground up. It's a bustling scene of productivity. But amidst all this, potential hazards lurk. A misplaced tool, an unstable structure, or even a moment's distraction can trigger a chain reaction of catastrophic events. Without a proper emergency response plan, a minor incident can quickly escalate into a major disaster. Lives could be lost, properties destroyed, and the progress of the entire project could be set back significantly. This underlines the importance of having an effective emergency response plan. Not only does it safeguard the lives of the workers and protect property, but it also ensures the continuity of the project. But it's not just about prevention and protection, it's also about legal obligations. In Malaysia, for instance, the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1994 and the Factories and Machinery Act of 1967 clearly stipulate the necessity of an emergency response plan. The Occupational Safety and Health Act mandates that every employer must, so far as is practicable, ensure the safety, health and welfare at work of all his employees. This includes the provision of systems of work that are, so far as is practicable, safe and without risks to health. Similarly, the Factories and Machinery Act also imposes duties on employers to ensure the safety, health and welfare of persons employed, with specific references to the provision and maintenance of safe plant and systems of work. These laws are not just pieces of paper, they carry the weight of responsibility. A responsibility that every employer owes to their employees, to their clients, and to the society at large. Having an emergency response plan isn't just a good idea, it's a legal and moral responsibility. So, how do we create one? First and foremost, we need to identify our emergency contacts. Imagine being in a crisis situation where every second counts. You need help, but you're scrambling to find phone numbers or email addresses. Not exactly the best use of precious time, right? That's why we start with establishing emergency contacts. Having local emergency services contacts readily available is a non-negotiable in any emergency response plan. This includes the local fire department, police station, and nearest hospital, but why stop there? Consider adding contacts for utility services like electricity and water, and even nearby construction sites. They might have resources that could be beneficial in an emergency. Now, you might wonder, who's in charge of maintaining these contacts? Enter the safety officer. The safety officer acts as the linchpin of this communication network. They ensure that these contacts are always up to date and accessible. This responsibility includes verifying the accuracy of the contacts regularly, so the team isn't left with outdated or incorrect information in the heat of a crisis. Moreover, the safety officer ensures that everyone on site knows who to call in an emergency. They might even organize drills or training sessions where the team practices using these contacts, so everyone is familiar with the process. This way, when an emergency does occur, everyone knows exactly what to do and who to call, saving valuable time. Remember, the goal of establishing emergency contacts is to ensure that you have quick and easy access to help when you need it most. It's about creating a network of support that can be activated at a moment's notice. So take the time to gather these contacts, verify them, update them, and ensure they're accessible to everyone. And remember, the safety officer is the key player in this process. They're the ones who keep the communication lines open, ensuring that when an emergency strikes, the team is ready to respond. With the emergency contacts established, we can now move on to the next step. Now, let's talk about the chain of reporting. This is a crucial component of any effective emergency response plan. Why, you may ask? Well, during an emergency, time is of the essence and confusion can cost lives. Having a clear chain of reporting ensures that everyone knows who to report to, which helps to eliminate confusion and speed up response times. Let's dive a little deeper into how to establish this chain of reporting. First, you'll need to identify key individuals in your organization. These are people who are well-versed in emergency procedures and can make quick decisions under pressure. They could be your safety officers, project managers, or even your site supervisors. Once you've identified these key individuals, you'll need to establish a hierarchy. This is the actual chain in your chain of reporting. For example, a worker reports to their supervisor, who then reports to the project manager, and so on up the chain. Now it's important to note that this chain of reporting isn't limited to just those on the ground. It also includes those in the office, like human resources and upper management. They play an essential role in coordinating responses, providing support, and communicating with external parties like emergency services. And remember, every person in this chain has a specific role to play. A supervisor might be responsible for accounting for all their workers, while a project manager might be in charge of liaising with emergency services. It's essential that everyone knows their role and responsibilities. One more thing, make sure everyone in your organization is aware of this chain of reporting. You can do this through regular training sessions and drills. This way, when an emergency does occur, everyone knows exactly who to report to and what actions to take. In line with the Malaysian Occupational Safety and Health Act, having a clear chain of reporting is not just good practice, it's a legal requirement. So, make sure your construction site has this in place to ensure the safety of everyone involved. With a clear chain of reporting, we ensure smooth communication during emergencies. Now on to the next step. Every construction site needs an emergency rescue team, but why is that? Emergencies can strike at any time, and when they do, every second counts. That's where the emergency rescue team comes into play. This team is a group of individuals who are trained and ready to respond swiftly and effectively in case of an emergency on site. They're the first line of defense when disaster strikes, and their actions can often mean the difference between a minor incident and a major catastrophe. So, what does the role of an emergency rescue team involve? Well, their responsibilities are wide-ranging. They're tasked with assessing the situation, providing first aid, implementing evacuation procedures, and coordinating with external emergency services. Their primary goal is to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone on site and to minimize damage and disruption. Now let's talk about how to form an emergency rescue team. First and foremost, it's crucial to select individuals who are capable, reliable, and willing to take on this important role. They should be physically fit, calm under pressure, and possess good problem-solving skills. Remember, this is not a role for everyone, and it's important that team members are chosen carefully. Once you've selected your team, training is the next step. This is a crucial part of the process, as it equips team members with the skills they need to perform their duties effectively. Training should cover a range of areas including first aid, fire safety, evacuation procedures, and crisis management. Moreover, it's important that this training is ongoing to ensure that skills are kept up to date and team members are familiar with the latest safety protocols. According to the Malaysian Occupational Safety and Health Act, it's a legal requirement for employers to provide sufficient training to their emergency rescue teams. So, make sure you're complying with the law while also safeguarding your workers. A well-trained emergency rescue team can mean the difference between life and death. Let's move to the next step. First aid can save lives. Let's talk about first aiders and first aid equipment. A first aider plays a vital role in the immediate response to any workplace injury or illness. These individuals are not just employees, they're trained professionals who can provide immediate medical attention before paramedics arrive. They are the first line of defense, helping to minimize the severity of injuries and in some cases, save lives. In Malaysia, under the First Aid Regulations of 1970, all workplaces are required to have a certain number of trained first aiders based on the number of employees. For instance, if the workplace has fewer than 50 employees, at least one first aider is required. For workplaces with more than 50 but fewer than 200 employees, 2 first aiders are required. And for those with more than 200 employees, it's 1 first aider for every 100 employees or part thereof. But first aiders are only as effective as the tools they have at their disposal. This is where first aid kits come into play. These kits should be easily accessible and clearly marked. They should be stocked with a variety of supplies, such as bandages, antiseptic wipes, tweezers, medical tape, and gloves. More comprehensive kits may also include items like a defibrillator, oxygen masks, and splints. The First Aid Regulations 1970 also stipulates the required contents for these kits. It's crucial that these kits are regularly checked and restocked, ensuring all items are in good condition and within their expiry dates. Remember, having a well-trained first aider and a fully stocked first aid kit may mean the difference between a minor injury and a major one, or even between life and death. So, it's essential to take these aspects seriously when creating an effective emergency response plan for your construction site. First aid is our first line of defense in an emergency. Now let's see what's next. In case of emergencies, we need to know where to go and what to do. So let's talk about the importance of having a designated emergency assembly point and the necessity for firefighting equipment. First off, an emergency assembly point is a predetermined safe location where everyone gathers after evacuating from a hazardous situation like a fire or a gas leak. It's crucial because it allows for a head count, ensuring everyone is accounted for, and it's a location where further instructions can be given. But how do we select the right spot for an assembly point? It should be an open space, free from potential hazards, and easily accessible. It should also be far enough away from the site to avoid any immediate danger, but close enough for everyone to reach quickly. Now, onto firefighting equipment. If a fire breaks out on a construction site, immediate action can potentially save lives and prevent further damage. That's why having the right firefighting equipment is not just important, it's a necessity. This includes fire extinguishers, fire blankets, and in some cases on-site fire hydrants. But remember, not all fires are the same, and different fires require different types of extinguishers. For example, an electrical fire needs a CO2 extinguisher, while a wood or paper fire requires a water-based extinguisher. And here's something else to consider. All equipment should be regularly inspected to ensure it's in working order. After all, a fire extinguisher that doesn't work is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Additionally, everyone on site should be trained in how to use this equipment because in a crisis, every second counts. So, we've got our emergency assembly point, and we're equipped to fight fires. We've taken crucial steps towards protecting ourselves and those around us. But remember, this equipment is there to assist in an emergency, not to replace professional firefighting services. Always call for professional help in the event of a fire. With these measures in place, we can effectively respond to emergencies. But there's one more step. Let's summarize the steps to create an effective emergency response plan. We've walked through a lot today, so let's bring it all together. First up, we established emergency contacts. These are the lifelines in case of any unexpected event. It's crucial to have all relevant numbers at hand, from local authorities to medical services. It's not just about having these numbers, it's about making sure everyone on the site knows them. Next, we set up a chain of reporting. This is the structured flow of information during an emergency. It starts with the person who first observes the emergency and ends with the final decision maker. This chain ensures that the right people are informed and can make necessary decisions quickly. We then discussed forming an emergency rescue team. This is a group of well-trained individuals ready to jump into action when an emergency occurs. They're the first line of defense, ready to control the situation and prevent further harm. Following that, we talked about appointing first aiders and securing first aid equipment. The first aiders are the frontline medical support in the immediate aftermath of an incident. They're trained to provide initial care until professional medical help arrives. First aid equipment, well-stocked and easily accessible, is equally important. It can make a significant difference in the outcome of an emergency. Then, we designated an emergency assembly point. This is a predefined safe location where all workers gather in case of an emergency. It's a crucial part of the evacuation plan, ensuring everyone's accounted for and safe. Lastly, we arranged for firefighting equipment. Fires can be a major hazard on construction sites, and having the right equipment on hand can prevent a small fire from becoming a catastrophic event. With these steps, we can mitigate the impact of emergencies at construction sites. Remember, safety is everyone's responsibility, so let's all do our part to create a safer work environment. Together, we can make a difference.